Austin Braun here, certified financial planner at Edgewater Family Wealth. I have good news and bad news today, so I'll start with the good news. The good news is that people are living longer, so a larger percentage of people are living longer. The bad news is actually the exact same thing. People are living longer. A larger percentage of people are living healthier, more active lifestyles, which is creating in our world this concept called longevity. We know from studies time over time that for retirees, one of their biggest fears tends to be the fear of running out of money. And let's just be honest, the environment right now of high inflation and low interest rates is not the best for somebody living on a fixed income. Why? Prices are going up and income is harder to come by. Not a helpful environment. So I wanted to address that head on today with a study that I recently found on ways for retirees to increase income in retirement. And I found that it kind of struck me as an important conversation, especially in this environment, because the study, it's called Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and now Delta, if you want to look it up. But the study was done in 2013, and I would argue that today, in our current environment, the conversation is even more important. People continue to live longer, and the environment or the general environment for retirees continues to get more difficult. So there's 6 of them, 6 strategies. I'll go through them pretty quickly and then close this out. Step 1 or strategy 1 is called total wealth allocation. So what does that mean? Total wealth allocation means not looking at only financial assets on behalf of a client. So a simple example of that is if you have a $70,000 a year pension and an investment portfolio, or if you have no pension and an investment portfolio, the guaranteed income coming from a pension needs to be taken into account. So for example, for somebody who has a lot of guaranteed income, our investment strategy might be a lot more conservative than for somebody who doesn't have any. Also, for example, cash drag has been a major issue with portfolios as inflation's running 5-6% and cash is returning nothing. CDs maybe 0.5% if you're lucky. It's been very important and remains very important to look at total wealth allocation as opposed to just looking at assets in a vacuum or only looking at financial assets. In doing so can help improve retirement outcomes. The second increase or way that we can increase retirement outcomes is a dynamic withdrawal strategy. And so what does that mean? Dynamic withdrawal strategy means looking beyond the general 4% rule that many retirees have heard of. And for example, in the bad years when the market's down, being very careful and taking action accordingly. And in the good years when the market's up, doing almost the exact opposite, taking advantage of that, taking money off the table, rebalancing and acting accordingly. And also dynamic withdrawal strategy just means taking out of the right accounts at the right time, which is obviously a moving conversation depending on the market environment. Step 3 is annuity allocations. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on annuities, but annuities can be an important part of a retirement income portfolio and can help provide and increase outcomes for retirement, especially when longevity is taken into account. The guaranteed income from annuities can help increase percentages or chances of success. 4 is one that we've been working a lot on as a team over the last 3 to 4 years, which is tax efficiency. So there's numerous ways that we can help decrease the tax drag that taxes can have on a portfolio. A number of those would be municipal bonds, a lot of tax loss harvesting as of late. That's been a very active conversation. Distribution strategies from various types of accounts, depending on the market environment. Tax efficiency, being careful with taxes and not creating and controlling tax drag can help improve outcomes as well. Number 5 is, I think, one of the most important. It's called liability relative optimization. What does that mean? Liability relative optimization means looking at portfolios not now, not in the near term, but looking at portfolios that are built for 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. The easiest and most obvious example is if you have $1 million in cash and CDs and you have a 20, 30 year time horizon ahead of you, it's simply not going to work. The portfolio is not going to keep up with inflation. So we, over the last year, to help combat low interest rates, higher inflation, our managed portfolios have increased equity allocations to help offset this current environment that we're in. And I would point out again, it's a very dynamic and constantly changing environment. And so liability relative optimization is this idea of helping to allocate assets according to long-term goals, and this idea that if that's not done, that actually creates a liability over the long run for a client and their retirement assets and outcomes. And number 6 is also very important, which is Social Security strategy. I pay into Social Security, you've paid into Social Security, we all pay into Social Security, so why not maximize the outcome or the income that we get from Social Security? And there are strategies that can help clients do so, and that's a very important way, again, taking longevity into account to increase or have more income over time. So those are the 6. I'll point out 2 things. Number 1, not a lot of conversation on performance or indexes or returns in that conversation. There's numerous other variables that have to be taken into account outside of purely looking at investment returns. And the second thing I would point out is how dynamic all of that is. The environment, the markets are constantly changing, the laws are constantly changing, and now more than ever, change has become the only constant. And so that's why for clients taking income, we like to chat with them once, ideally see them and chat with them at least twice a year. If you have any questions or want to discuss any of this further, please absolutely feel free to reach out, and just know that we're consistently and constantly working on clients' behalf to help increase these retirement outcomes and help them capitalize on and take advantage of this beautiful concept that is longevity.